Hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Dokter back with House Basketball, reading Pound the Stone by Joshua Medcalf. Heading into chapters 31 and 32 today. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, go back and listen to the rest of the book. If this is the first time you're listening with us, thank you for joining us. Whole book's on the playlist. The book before this, Chop Wood, Carry Water, is also on the playlist. So enjoy it. We just got done with a couple of heavy chapters in chapters 29 and 30. One of the supporting characters of the book unfortunately took their own life and chose to do that. There was a funeral for that, and so now we're into chapter 31 called Moving On. For the next few weeks, Jason couldn't shake Judah's words. They echoed in his mind wherever he went. When they did, it just made him think about Travis even more. And that just made him uncomfortable because he didn't really know what to say. Maybe there just wasn't anything to say at all. It didn't help that the whole school seemed to be stuck in the same place. People didn't know how to look at each other or talk to each other. They mostly seemed to have the same weird surface conversations, like a song on repeat. So weird, right? Yeah, he was so young. Jason had never realized what a difference one person could make in his life, but now that Travis was gone, every day was filled with reminders. They had always walked from one side of the school to the other between classes, and he had gotten used to talking shop about that day's practice and the upcoming games. The first day Travis wasn't there, Jason walked outside to avoid their route despite the cold. It was so weird. He could still hear Travis's voice telling a joke or asking him about his day. The fact that he would never speak to him again took his breath away, and with the hardest pain he had ever felt. He did his best to just not think about it, put on a strong face, and move on. The last thing the school needed was another hurting kid walking around. He just wanted to get back to normal. He wasn't alone either. When the schools brought in a grief counselor for a special session for the team to help process Travis's death, no one spoke more than a few words. No one looked at each other. Just like Jason, they were sad Travis was gone, but they all really seemed ready to move on. But on a walk home after practice, Jason couldn't stop thinking about it. No matter how hard he tried, the pain came back, which just made him angrier. He didn't want to feel anything right now. As he got home, he saw a familiar car waiting for him, that boxy Subaru he hated so much. Russ didn't need to say anything. Jason could tell by his eyes that he knew what had happened, so all he said was, "Let's get some food." In the car, he didn't say a word. They just drove. When they got to the restaurant, Russ ordered for them, and as they waited for the food, he looked at Jason, like really looked at him. "I'm so sorry to hear about your friend, Jason." It was said with a depth of care, sincerity, and warmth that Jason had never experienced from another man. Jason didn't really know what to say. Jason's vision got cloudy and he felt the tears stirring in his eyes. The mask he had fought to keep on in place was slipping, and he couldn't stop it anymore. He sniffed at his running nose and turned away, but Russ was already there, wrapping him in a hug. "You don't need to say anything. I'm with you," he kept repeating. "I'm with you." As a big sob shook Jason. He had never gotten a hug from an adult other than his mom, so he didn't know what to do but cry. Suddenly, everything he'd been holding back inside of him released, and for the first time in a week, he could think again clearly. He thought he wanted to hear wise words from Russ, something that would ease the pain, but he realized that sometimes the most beneficial thing in a moment like that is simply to hear and feel the only thing Russ did say: "I am with you." All right, that was chapter 31. Moving on. It's hard. It's hard when you experience loss to move on, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's a pet, right? Whatever it is, whenever something that you care about is ripped from you in some way, it's hard to move on. And if you're in a situation where you're consoling somebody, honestly, the words that everybody thinks help don't help. They don't. It's just words. It's just talking, and it goes in one ear and out the other. What the other person really genuinely needs from you, and a lot of times in that situation, is just to know that you're there, just to be there with them and hurt with them and be in the pain with them. Sometimes that is the most beneficial thing. So if you ever get the blessing of helping somebody through that situation and being their rock and being their stronghold, just remember it's important to just be there with them. All right, chapter 32, bring your basketball. The weeks after blurred past. Even though life was back to normal, something was missed. It still felt like a hole had been shot through the middle of his life. His time with Russ had helped, but he kept busy with school and keeping up the training for basketball. But every time he walked onto the court, he would remember Travis. It hurt not to see him there. Eventually, Jason began to practice in the gym less. Instead, he ran upstairs at the football field or practiced on the outside courts. Anytime anyone asked how he was doing, he just smiled and told them everything was cool. It's just easier that way. One day, he was walking with Kaya to class when she asked the same question, and he gave the usual response, but she shook her head. Jason, I know guys like to be strong and silent, but I don't believe for a second that you're okay after a friend as good as Travis has passed away. How are you doing? Really? How's your heart? He knew that Kaya saw straight through him, but still he couldn't admit to what was really going on to her. It was just too hard. He stuttered, trying to find the right words, but Kaya just shook her head. If you can't talk about it, that's fine. Well, what are you doing after school? Jason shrugged. Practicing, probably. Cool. If you want, I'd like to take you to meet a friend of mine. We can go after school. Jason nodded. Sure. He didn't really feel like it, but he wanted to spend time with Kaya. She'd been a good friend to him through this, and she had consistently checked in on him. In a strange way, he felt closer to her in spite of how hard everything was around him. As they parted, she stopped, adding, "Oh, and bring your basketball." Jason could figure out who this friend could possibly be, but he was curious to find out. So the next day, he showed up outside the school with a basketball, ready for anything. All right, we're going to stop there. Actually, no, we're going to read chapter 33. We'll go ahead and read. There's not much to say about that chapter, except good friends are amazing. So chapter 33, Layers and Light. Layers and Light. This is a great chapter. Kaya pulled into a parking lot, smiling at Jason. We're here. Come on. They were at a community park, and as they walked over to the basketball court, he saw a little kid shooting free throws. Well, trying to shoot free throws. The best shot bounced off the rim, but this guy kept enthusiastically chasing his ball down, getting back to the line and trying again. There was something awkward about his form, and as they got closer, Jason realized why. Kaya walked right up to him. Ryan! He saw her and gave her a shout of joy, and the world's biggest smile spread across his face. He practically jumped on her as he gave her a big bear hug, and she spun him around. The Down syndrome had stunted his growth, so even though he was 10 years old, he was the size of an average 6-year-old. He laughed with infectious joy as she put him down. Without missing a beat, he marched over to Jason with the same smile and reached out to hug him. It was an awkward hug for Jason, as Ryan was really just hugging the leg of his 6'4" frame. Hi, said Ryan with his own unique dialect that came from a somewhat uncooperative tongue. Ryan, this is my friend Jason. Jason, this is my friend Ryan. Jason is the basketball player I was telling you about. He's really good. Jason blushed. She didn't even know that Kai had ever watched him play a game. Ryan jumped up and down with excitement. Would you like to shoot some hoops with him? Ryan squealed and turned and shot a ball into the air that wasn't even close. But with the joy on his face, you would have thought that he had hit a game winner in the triple overtime of the NBA Finals. We forget sometimes, guys, that there is joy in things that we can't comprehend. Sorry, I'm supposed to tell you that after this chapter, but I choked myself up reading, so I had to give a second. All right. They shot for about an hour, and Ryan loved it. He especially loved when Jason would dunk. He got an even bigger kick out of it when Jason went to tomahawk one and it clanged off the back of the rim, not landing until soaring past half court. Ryan fell over on the ground. He was laughing so hard. Jason looked over at Kai to see pure joy on her face as she watched them. She locked eyes with Jason, and for a moment they shared a connection that was definitely more than friends. Ryan laughed and laughed with pure happiness, like he had just opened a Christmas present. He begged Jason to dunk again and again and again, and each time he celebrated with the same incredible joy. Jason was amazed by it. No matter what they did, Ryan's love for it and the joy on his face never once changed. Finally, Jason took a breather on the bleachers with Kaya. They watched Ryan play, chasing the ball everywhere excitedly. Every single shot he took missed, but he never once complained. He just seemed happy to be there. Kaya stirred. I love Ryan. He's literally one of my favorite humans. Such a cool kid. Yeah, he's so different from everyone I've ever met. Why do you think that is? He lives entirely in the moment. Emotion welled up in Kaya's eyes. Knowing him reminds me to do the same. Not many people know this, but I lost my baby brother when I was 9. And what I learned was that losing someone can make you not love anyone out of fear of losing people. Or it can teach you to value or it can teach you to value and treasure every single moment you have with people. Jason nodded as she continued. When we get hurt, we often try to cover up the pain. It's a natural reaction. But that usually doesn't help it get better. Think of when you get hit somewhere. What do? You immediately grab it and try to create a layer of protection. And as you get older, you layer protection over protection over protection. Eventually, you cover up the light inside of you that is meant to shine brightly. You see that light in little children all the time, but it is so rare to find an adult with their light still shining. It's not that the light has been put out. The light still exists inside of all of us. But for most people, it's hidden beneath layers of pain and attempted self-protection, which often becomes self-sabotaged. Jason just listened, blown away by Kaya's maturity and understanding. In order to experience the joy of a child, we have to be willing to open ourselves up again and let our light shine. When we shine the way we are intended to, not with arrogance, but with authentic joy, peace, wholeness, and contentment, we allow others to slowly peel back their layers and shine as well. Jason tried to process that, blown away. That was some, wow, how did you learn that? From watching Ryan. You know what they say, actions speak louder than words. Yeah, they do, Jason smiled, and Kaya smiled back. There it was again, the electric connection. But as the moment stretched, Ryan rushed over to them. Bedtime, he shouted, and he was even like he was excited for that. We got to get him home. It's past his bedtime, Kaya said with a smile. All right, that was chapter 33. What was that one called again? Layers and Light. Love that chapter. I'm going to go ahead and throw an Instagram story with that quote that I'm going to read to you again right now. When we shine the way we are intended to, not with arrogance, but with authentic joy, peace, wholeness, and contentment, we allow others to slowly peel back their layers and shine as well. I love that, guys. I absolutely love that. I had the pleasure of being able to read this chapter to my team after we experienced significant loss in a tournament. And what I wanted them to get out of that chapter is that again, the winning and the losing doesn't necessarily matter to me. It matters, but it doesn't matter. It's not the most important thing. It absolutely matters. It's great to win. It sucks to lose. And the team was very frustrated with their loss. They were very frustrated with their loss. And we read that chapter, and what I wanted them to do was to remember what it was like to play basketball when they were 7 years old. Remember what it was like to just throw the ball up at a rim that they couldn't get the ball up to, and just love the fact that they were able to play with their older brother or their older sister or their mom or their dad or someone from the neighborhood. It didn't even matter. What is that joy and where is it gone? It's gotten sucked up by all the stupid, unnecessary pressure we put on ourselves over and over and over again to be this certain player or be at this certain level or be this certain type of student and all these things. The only thing that matters, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that matters is somehow being the best version of yourself and working to come as close to being what God created you to be. That is the only thing that matters. And when we can take that light and we can let that shine and we can authentically let that shine, not in a way to get everybody to look at us, but in a way to illuminate all of the amazing things that everybody else is doing. When we can do that and we can authentically just love what it is that we do, that's what it's all about. And that allows everything we do to be fun, everything we do to be meaningful. Every moment that we live, it allows us to capture that moment for ourselves and for goodness instead of for evil and for darkness. And every moment that you exist, every moment that you're allowed to take in breath, is a moment that you can capture for the side of light, or a moment that you can let go to the side of darkness. And you have that choice. And you have that choice every single day. And I think that that's incredibly empowering. And when we can see people like Ryan, who are so much less fortunate than us because of physical disabilities or mental disabilities, sometimes God blesses them with a perspective that we could only wish we had. And sometimes those individuals are the happiest individuals that have ever existed, and they're the most at peace because they know who they are and they know whose they are, and there's nothing they need to do to impress anybody. And it's an amazing and powerful situation to me. So I love that chapter. I wanted to read it again in addition to the other two. So we read 3 chapters today, or in this video. Chapter 31, moving on. Chapter 32, Bring Your Basketball. And then chapter 33, Layers and Light. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Bye now.